What if the woman they called rebellious was never trying to cause chaos, but simply refused to give up control over herself? And what if choosing yourself was the very thing that made people uncomfortable? Because there's a certain kind of woman who doesn't fit easily into expectations. She questions things. She resists control. She doesn't shrink to make other people comfortable. And more often than not, she gets labeled as difficult, or selfish, or wrong. One of the earliest stories of Lilith describes her as Adam's first wife. But, unlike Eve, she wasn't created from him. She was created alongside him, equal. And when she was expected to be submissive, to take a position beneath him, she refused. Not out of anger, not out of rebellion for the sake of it, but because she believed she was not meant to be less than. And instead of being understood, she was cast out, rewritten, demonized, turned into something people were warned about, instead of someone people tried to understand. And I think that's where her story becomes familiar, because choosing yourself, especially when it disrupts expectations, often comes with consequences. Not always loud ones, but subtle ones. Distance, judgment, being misunderstood by people who only knew the version of you that was easier to accept. Because for a lot of people, self-abandonment is taught early. You learn how to adjust, how to be agreeable, how to stay quiet when something doesn't feel right. And over time, you get really good at being who you're expected to be, even if it means losing parts of yourself in the process. Lilith represents the moment that stops, the moment where something inside of you says, no. Not loudly, not dramatically, just clearly. She isn't chaos, she's clarity. She's the part of you that recognizes when something asks you to shrink and refuses. And whether you see Lilith as a figure, an archetype, or simply a story, her energy shows up in very real ways. In the moment you trust your instincts, even when they don't make sense to anyone else. In the decision to set a boundary, even if it disappoints someone. In choosing yourself, even when it feels unfamiliar. You don't have to believe in her to recognize that feeling. It might look like walking away from something that once felt important because it no longer aligns. It might look like speaking up when you would have just stayed quiet before, or even not explaining yourself the way you used to feel like you had to. Because choosing yourself isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. And sometimes it feels like becoming someone other people don't recognize anymore. Not everything that is rejected is wrong. Sometimes it's just unwilling to be controlled. Before you go, just take a moment. Think about a time when something inside of you said no, but you ignored it. What did it feel like? And what might have happened if you had listened? You don't have to answer it right now. Just notice it.